Now, with certain players becoming so legendary, most even had a go-to signature move that changed the game of basketball forever. Now, it's definitely no doubt that Dirk Nowitzki was a one-of-a-kind player, and he impacted the NBA in a huge way during all of his 21 seasons with the Mavericks. And even though he won a championship in 2011 and finished his career 6th on the all-time scoring list, the thing most notable about his career was his trademark one-leg step back. Now, Dirk's signature move hadn't always been a part of his game, but he admitted he got inspiration for it after seeing how effective Hakeem Olajuwon's Dream Shake was, and how effective it became during his career. But Dirk talked about this saying, "I came up with a shot where I just have to basically lean back and not be athletic at all and just hoist it up. I came up with my own Dream Shake, I guess, the white version." Dirk also talked about how he invented a shot like this because of his lack of ability to create a normal shot off the dribble, and he said, "I was never the fastest guy beating somebody off the dribble, so I had to come up with something to create a little separation. The step back is a good way of just creating that and still get the shot over them. I'm 7 feet tall and there's really not a lot of guys that can't shoot over, so by creating a little separation, usually they can't get to it, and that's how it started." ESPN Sports Science did a feature on this shot where they took in every aspect of what goes into the one-leg step back, and they eventually came to a conclusion that Dirk leans back at a 20-degree angle while lifting his leg, which ultimately creates about 3 feet of space between him and the defender. Throughout Dirk's legendary career, he actually had a shooting coach named Holger, and when he sat down for an interview, Holger was asked if he was the one who invented the shot, and he said, "No, we tried to figure out the perfect shot where you can make the most mistakes and the ball still goes in. If you have such a technique, then you can take riskier shots and still shoot the same percentage as all the other guys." And that was one of the pieces of the one-step fadeaway or the flamingo shot, or whatever it's called. You can try so many different things and get more risky with your technique and skills if you obey the physical laws, because as much talent as you have, you cannot beat physics. With Dirk becoming so legendary during his 21 years in the league, present day we've seen others around the league trying to develop this shot in their own games, but when Dirk was asked if it bothered him, he actually didn't take it as any sort of disrespect, and he said, "It's been an honor to watch some of the guys adopt that shot. I've always said that it's not that hard of a shot to shoot. If you have good balance, if you have good touch, anybody can shoot it." To see some of these guys put it in their repertoire and really make it a household shot, it's been fun to watch. Now, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar becoming one of the greatest players ever during his career, winning 6 championships, 6 MVPs, being an all-star 19 out of his 20 years played, and of course being the all-time leading scorer in history, a huge factor in him accomplishing all of this was a signature move that nobody's been able to recreate in the same successful fashion, his skyhook, and many claim it was nearly impossible to defend. But recently Kareem was asked to break down this one-of-a-kind shot, and he explained saying, "It was the only shot I could shoot that didn't get smashed back in my face, so I learned to rely on it early, and it was always something I could get off even in traffic. When you shoot it, you force people to wait for you to go up, and if they wait until I started to shoot it, then they'd have to judge the distance and time it, and it's gone before they can catch up to it. That's, for me, the beauty of it. You're in control because of when you're going to release it and where. The defense has to see that and calculate everything before they get an opportunity to block it." Even during his playing days, Kareem had critics, but never let it get to him, and continued to excel playing the game his way, and he had the perfect response towards those criticizing it by saying, "I use it to become the leading scorer in the history of the NBA. There has to be something about it that works." But nowadays the game has completely changed, as we've seen teams become more reliant on three-pointers than ever. And when Kareem was asked why he believes the skyhook has faded away in today's league, he said, "I think it has to do with the way they're teaching the game. They're not teaching kids how to post up. Everyone wants to shoot three-pointers, but it should be part of every big man's game, and it's not." Now, a few players in today's NBA have tried to learn the skyhook, and Marc Gasol, who's an avid user of it, talked about this, and he said, "The balance is the tricky part. You have to understand where you are. Once you commit to that shot, especially from the set position, you have to be very precise." Enes Kanter, who's also tried to use the move but stopped because of how difficult it is, talked about the saying, "If you don't stay low and you don't stay balanced, the defender can push you, and you take a crazy shot, it's hard." But at the end of the day, Kareem himself still believes the shot is as effective as you can make it, and when perfected, it can be nearly unstoppable by any big man, and he talked about this saying,
"I don't recall ever being blocked by somebody who's guarding me. If I knew where someone was, that person wasn't going to block that shot, because I'd always get my body in between them and the ball." Manute Bol was like 4 inches taller than me, and I shot a number of them on him and made them without him blocking it, and he was a good shot blocker.
Now, Allen Iverson no doubt changed basketball forever, as he was always one of the smaller guards on the floor at all times, but changed what it really meant to play at his position. A point guard was more so the playmaking pass-first type of player used to set up the scores, but AI himself wanted to be that scorer, and after switching positions, he became one of the best scorers in league history, and Iverson too had a signature go-to move, his crossover, which you actually see many players today trying to replicate like Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry, but interestingly enough, Iverson admitted that those two are better than dribbling than he was, and he said, "Those guys are next level. I didn't have the handle they do. Even Kevin Durant talked about the comparisons of his new teammate Irving to AI, saying, "Kyrie's better than AI to me. Skill for skill, his handle's better. I feel like Kyrie got more skill, I'm sorry." But nevertheless, where did Allen learn to do this move? He talked about it happening to him so many times while he was young that he eventually had to add it to his game. And he said, "When I was in high school, I used to do the Tim Hardaway crossover where I went through my legs first, then crossed it over. And when I got to college, a guy named Dean Barry used to do it to me all the time. This crossover was vicious, and he used to get me with it in practice all the time because I had to guard him. After a while, I had to stop being stubborn and wanted to add it to my game. At first, I was kind of hesitant about asking him to teach me, but the move was so vicious I just had to learn." Now, as far as Tim Hardaway's opinion on this, he doesn't believe AI should get the credit he's gotten for bringing this move to the game, but he said, "The crossover, everybody says Allen Iverson. I'm gonna tell you this and I tell everybody this. Allen Iverson carried the basketball. I had the original killer crossover and people are doing my move. They're not doing Allen Iverson's move. They're not doing nobody else's move. They're still trying to perfect my move as the killer crossover and it's my move, alright? I brought a unique style to the game." Then when AI heard this, his response was just as legendary as his game, and he said, "Yeah, I heard about it. I carried my crossover all the way into the Hall of Fame, so there you go." But the moment this crossover move changed the NBA was when it was glorified on March 12, 1997. At the time, Iverson was just a rookie and he was being guarded by his idol in a game between the Sixers and Bulls. He was at the top of the key, and he did a signature double crossover move which got Michael Jordan reaching, and allowed AI to get space and make the shot. Years after doing that move on arguably the best player ever, Iverson said the move was years in the making, and during an interview recently he talked about this, saying, "I remember that play vividly because Michael Jordan was my hero. Everybody knows that. He was my favorite player, my idol. I literally wanted to be like Mike. And all I was thinking about after the fact was that no one never probably would have known anything about that move if I wouldn't have made the shot afterwards, because they don't do that on ESPN." Now, as far as Michael Jordan's take on the situation, AI explained that up to this point, Jordan still hasn't forgiven or forgotten the moment. And Allen said, "I live in Charlotte now, so I went to a Hornets game and I was in his office. It was just me and him and one of my friends, and I was just telling him how much he meant to me and how much I love him. But he was like, 'You don't love me, you wouldn't have crossed me like that.'" Now, other than this, Allen displayed a wide range of scoring ability throughout his entire career as he averaged nearly 27 points per game throughout. And the other notable moment of this crossover came during his only NBA Finals against the Lakers, where he got the ball, drove baseline and crossed over, hitting the shot on Ty Lue and stepped over him. Now, Hakeem Olajuwon is yet another player who dominated during his era, and it's mainly because of his unique skill set that allowed him to do various moves without him ever being figured out. And this included his signature move, the Dream Shake. Even Shaquille O'Neal admitted that Olajuwon was one of the only players he could never intimidate or figure out. But with Hakeem dominating on both ends of the floor, averaging over 20 points per game throughout, and even being the all-time leader in blocks, it simply explains why many players both past and present have wanted to replicate his moves. Now, Joel Embiid is actually one of the players in today's NBA that's been both praised and mentored by Hakeem himself. But Joel actually talked about studying Olajuwon's game growing up when he said, "I had this DVD that my coach in Cam Newton had mailed to me when I first came to America. It was an hour-long tape of Hakeem Olajuwon and some other legendary big men. I probably watched that DVD every single day for 3 years. I would study the way that Hakeem moved, and I would go out and try to imitate him. I did it in high school and I did it at Kansas. I was basically just imagining that I was a good basketball player. I mean, I sucked, but somehow I convinced myself that I was Hakeem. And I started getting better and better, and then I sort of started killing it." He started playing basketball so late, and he's from Africa, so we kind of have the same backstories. He's been one of my idols. Now, after watching Embiid continue to develop all these years, Hakeem was very impressed, and he talked about Joel becoming the Olajuwon of today's NBA when he said, "I was very, very impressed with how he was moving. The movement that I know, wow, I can see myself. He has the tools and the talent to be able to do those moves." But as far as Olajuwon's signature moves go, Hakeem recently sat down to explain the Dream Shake and others in his arsenal, and he was also asked why he thinks other guys want to learn his moves so bad. But Hakeem said, "These players used to watch my moves and like my style of basketball, especially the movement in the post. They want to learn them, but when someone like Kobe calls and wants to learn my post moves to incorporate into his game, it's the ultimate compliment." Now, despite James Harden being criticized over the years for his one-of-a-kind moves and ability to draw fouls like none other, he's still been putting up 30 points per game the last few seasons and is drastically influencing players around the league. James' one-of-a-kind crossovers and stepbacks have often received criticism for being travels, but he continues to use these moves and improve his game, adding things like his one-leg stepback for very specific reasons. And he talked about this saying, "I'm a creator. When it's all said and done, I want to be one of those guys where people say James made a whole new path, a whole new wave of being creative with the game of basketball. Every day I'm trying to find ways to improve my game, improve the entire game of basketball, and you've got kids watching me trying to be creative as well. Everything that I do is about keeping defenders off balance and on their toes. If you have that every possession, you're basically unguardable." Then you have the haters who talk about, is that a travel? Is that too many steps? That's just the haters. That's when you know you're doing something right, when you've got people talking about you, and I let the haters keep talking. Now, with people hating on Harden's way of play, it hasn't really mattered, as we've seen players like Steph Curry attempt to pull off James' step back, so you know it's only a matter of time for many others to do the same. But James has continued to emphasize that he's not slowing down for anybody, and he wants his moves to go down in history. And he talked about this saying, you know how Mike Jordan has his fadeaway and Dirk Nowitzki has his one leg and Kareem had the skyhook? I want my step back to be one of those moves that last forever. Now go check out the tallest players in the NBA and subscribe to stay up to date with the NBA 100%.